Hey guys, my name's Spence, and today I just have one question to ask you. Why does Goosebumps still hold a special place in our night? Now, before we get started, I do want to let you know that if I'm looking off screen, it's because I have a script. This is my first time doing this, and I'm not very good at it yet, so I'm asking you to please stay with me. And if you could, like and subscribe to help grow this channel, it would mean the world to me. Alright, now let's get into it. In the 1990s, author R.L. Stine created a book series called Goosebumps. He saw the name in an ad, thought it clicked, and made a series out of it. Let me start at the beginning. In the 1980s, there was a series of stories that he wrote called Fear Street. Now, these stories, he wrote quite a few of, were aimed at a teen audience. They had a lot more explicit horror, blood, stuff like that you would find more in a generic horror movies. Stuff that seems it would be a little bit more adult, or leaning towards adult, if that makes sense. And while these books were popular, children's horror was catching on at the time. So, R.L. Stine's wife encouraged him to write children's books that were horror-based. Obviously, when you're writing children's books that are horror-based, you can't have that blood and all the other stuff that would be in a normal horror movie. So he switched it to a more of a supernatural element. These books came out in, I believe, 1991, correct me if I'm wrong, and they continued for 4 or 5 years. They were not immediately well received. They did not have a lot of promotion, but in time, they were circulated through libraries and the sort, and started to gain popularity. They suddenly caught on into this huge boom. There was this TV series that came out, and I'm pretty sure everybody knows what I'm talking about. Just this insanely popular TV series that absolutely blew up and made a ton of money for Scholastic, and they just had merch coming out. They had, blankets even, like all this kind of stuff. And it had this huge cultural boom. It was kind of like the Harry Potter, the Avengers for children of what we have nowadays. And it was just, it caused such an uptick in the children's horror community. And it has still to this day just had such an influential impact on children's horror and like the whole horror community. A fun fact, Goosebumps was actually banned in some schools for being too scary, even though R.L. Stine made it so that it was children's horror. Now, author Tim Jacobus, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Jacobus or Jacobus, created these just everlasting, memorable covers that he painted out for each individual book. I actually have the Funko Pops for Bad Hair Day, Night of the Living Dummy, Attack of the Mutant, The Haunted Mask, and behind me for The Werewolf of Fever Swamp. These were some of the most influential stories, especially Night of the Living Dummy. Slappy became the main character of the franchise, other than Curly the Skeleton, but in time he's become the main character of the franchise and has become the face of Goosebumps. And it's all because of Tim Jacobus' artwork. It was so well done that it caused children to have nightmares occasionally. And it kind of went into what the series represented. It was not just horror, but it was horror for kids. And it balanced both humor and it balanced that horror element. And it did a really good job at both in a way that kids were able to digest and understand it without being super scared. The books started out a lot more scary than they ended being, because there was around 61 books. Welcome to Dead House is the first one, and one of my personal favorites, and I do not remember which one I ended on, but as time went on, the books got less and less scary. But they all had this impact, which then went into this TV show. And because it was an anthology series in the books, you were able to see all of these different episodes with all these different actors and all this different, you know, like these adventures that these kids were able to see and go on. And, you know, it really instilled a lot of us horror fans as adults with this love for the crazy, the supernatural. And Goosebumps really was an introduction to the horror genre. At least for me, I went from watching Goosebumps to watching like A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, The Conjuring. And I was one of those people who were raised on the reruns of the original TV show and the books that came out and were being circulated in libraries. Like I said, I was born after all the craze. And so it's caused a lot of, you know, people to be very nostalgic about it. And that's a really positive. Modern audiences are able to digest the lessons and the what happens in the stories a lot more than we were able to in the 90s. It's more so because we're adults now. And there's been a ton of books since then, the different Slappy World series and stuff like that. But these themes were able to resonate with us and teach us life lessons, you know, and they tried to translate it throughout the years. We had a Goosebumps movie with Jack Black as R.L. Stine, which was great. I saw it when it came out originally. I really enjoyed it, and it was really, really well made, where they didn't take all of the individual stories, and instead they put them all the monsters in one book, and it was kind of like a Jumanji thing. All the monsters escaped. You had to track them down, and it was great. But in my opinion, it didn't bring the nostalgia back like it should have. They were good though. They were good. I enjoyed them, and I think that the sequel as well was just kind of thrown together. But there was another sequel called Goosebumps 2: Haunted Halloween. It was a lot of the same thing, but it was still a good movie. And then it went dormant, other than the books, for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And now we have the new Goosebumps series, which I'm really enjoying. It's just very, very well done. You know, they are able to take it and make it almost an American Horror Story type of show. They have these events happening, and taking individual monsters and putting them in different episodes makes it a lot more enjoyable than just having everything there at once. It's a little less overwhelming. The season 1 was really well done, and a lot of the monsters that showed up were a new interpretation of what we loved, a more modern interpretation, which is something that is always, in my opinion, great, you know? And this new reboot, is being able to adapt all of this stuff for modern audiences in just a way that it wasn't able to be done before. If you take something and turn it into a TV series instead of a movie, it makes it a lot easier to digest. I really, really, really want them to bring back Werewolf of Fever Swamp and The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight for this new series if it continues. Those were my absolute favorite stories. They're my favorite books, and they just really influenced my love for horror specifically. And I'm really excited to see exactly how they're able to incorporate all of this stuff into the new series. I think it's going to be really interesting to have these monsters in individual episodes without them being based on the book. I need to know from you guys in the comments, what monsters do you hope that they bring back in the new series? What do you guys hope that they are able to fit in? And what do you guys hope that they are able to update into a more modern take? The best thing about Goosebumps is that the scares are timeless, and the new series promises to haunt us in new ways. And it's something that I'm really, really excited for, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they do. I want to know from you guys, what's your favorite Goosebumps memory? Comment below, let me know. What are you guys looking forward to in this new series? Do you like it? Do you not? I'm looking forward to the new series, and I am going to review it for you guys when it comes out. Until then, see you guys later. Thank you guys for dropping in. I really appreciate it. This is Spencer, and have a wonderful night.